What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, of course, is the Freddie Mercury puppet. We're back with another banger. I'll address the elephant in the room. You're looking at the smoldering good looks, the luscious blonde locks. Yes, I am the one and only love child of one Diamond David Lee Roth. Now we can get down to brass tacks, which is another banger of an episode. My guest is here, so we are going to hop right in and get down to brass tacks. Here we go with another incredible episode. Let's do it. Angel, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up?
I don't want to get the name wrong, man, so I'm going to try it because I have a last name that gets butchered often too, and yours looks very simple. Angel Tarin?
Yeah, that's good, man.
Close enough?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I often say that too when people botch mine too, and obviously I'm using a handle on my podcast. But I mean, yeah, I've gone through life with one of those. Your last name is a cakewalk in comparison. So I mean, but I do like to try to get people's names right though from time to time, and once in a while I do hit it out of the ballpark, which apparently I just did. So I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm pretty happy. Off to a good start, man. So, and Angel, first of all, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it, man. Of course, FLESH HOARDER, an amazing fucking band, man. I'm a huge fan. But I like to go kind of back to the beginning with these things. And because a common theme when I talk to musical artists on here is that they come from musical households, records being played around, immersed in music, maybe parents that are musicians or into music. Was this the case for you?
All right, so hold on, man. Sorry, my thing is.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I don't think I had it set up right, but you can hear me good, right?
I can hear you great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have my microphone set up and it was not working right, but I guess we could do it through the phone. It's fine.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can see you and hear you great, man. Yeah. So,
Cool.
so was it a musical upbringing for you? A lot of
Yeah,
music
for sure,
around you?
man.
Yeah.
So yeah, like my dad was a musician. He taught a lot of people how to play. He's rest in peace. He died like 20 years ago, but he was very, he helped a lot, or he was actually very inspirational as far as like whenever I did want to play, I used to bug him about playing guitar, and I guess he figured out one day I was serious about it and was like, all right, I'll get you one.
Yeah. Caved.
And then finally he did, and I just never put it down. I was probably like, man, I want to say 10 or 11 when I grabbed it. So
And did you flirt with any other instruments, or was it always a singular focus on the guitar?
I was always just obsessed with guitar. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Probably from watching old Metallica videos and Megadeth videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I knew early I wanted to do guitar, so I got it. Then my nephew, who's pretty close to age as me, he ended up getting a bass guitar, and we used to just kind of just jam around the house and make a bunch of noise until it started sounding a little more coherent over time.
How do you make the leap into extreme metal though? Because that isn't for everybody. Obviously, it puts a lot of people off. It's only for certain ears. Some people can't handle it. How do you make the leap to that? Was it a gradual progression towards that, or did you get into heavy music kind of right out of the gate?
So it was a progression, right? I want to say I got into metal pretty early, right? During that age, I was already listening to like those bands I mentioned, right? Even Pantera, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to high school, I started kind of getting more of like I want to say late, junior high school. I started kind of hearing like Cannibal Corpse and stuff like that. Like songs would kind of just poke in and out, like out of my, circle of friends and stuff.
Right.
And back then, we didn't have the internet or anything like that, so we couldn't just like look stuff up. It'd be like, hey, I got this CD. It's like The Bleeding, or somebody else had like a Dying Fetus CD, and then next thing you know, it was like everybody just started accumulating all these little pieces of death metal, and next thing you know, it was like, well, where the hell do we find people that play like this?
Right. Right.
It's like, okay, we were pretty good at what we were doing as far as like we were all pretty good musicians at the time, especially like when I got to high school, I had already been playing for 4 or 5 years, 6 years, who knows, so then, venturing out to like little local shows and stuff, and then you start to meet more and more people,
Yeah.
and that's how you kind of like got the training wheels off, and then meet other people who were into it.
It's a
So
community. Yeah, you start to network a little.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
then you find out there's actually bands that were local that were death metal bands. You're like, oh shit, where all this come from?
right.
You
Yeah.
know?
And so how does Flesh Hoarder start? Specifically, how do you end up in Flesh Hoarder?
Well, so the guys in the band, we've all known each other years. I want to say, we're talking early 2000s. I knew these guys,
Yeah.
and we all had been in our own bands. I was in a band called Exulcerate at the time.
Hmm.
Um, RIP, two guys are passed away now, so
Yep.
just want to give them a little shout out real quick.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
we had put out an album, and Mike and Renee were in a band called Disfigured. So they had been jamming for a long time, and there
Yeah,
was Nick.
I've had the pleasure of having Mike on the podcast. He's great.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And Nick was in a band called Eviscerated with some other good friends of mine in the San Antonio area. Well, that's where I used to live, or that's where I grew up, really. And I think I want to say this was around 2011 ish. I was like on a hiatus. These guys had been jamming the whole time, but around, I guess, that time period, their bands were kind of like they weren't doing or I wouldn't say they weren't doing as much. I think they were just like starting to branch out. Some of them were doing less. Some of them were just like doing multiple projects.
Hmm.
And I showed up out of the blue one day because I hadn't been doing anything. I was like a new dad at the time, so
Yeah.
I was laying low. I wasn't jamming, and they're like, "Hey, let's do a band." Like we're just all drunk, hanging out.
Yeah.
Typical show, bar drinking, or
Yep. Yep.
out in the car, doing stuff we're not supposed to. And
Brainstorming good ideas. Yeah.
and then they're like, "Hey, let's." Are you? They would ask me, "Are you playing still, or what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I fuck around at home. I play around with my drum machines and that kind of crap." And they're like, "Well, let's write some music and jam." I was like, "You know what? Maybe it's time. Let's do it."
Yeah.
So we all got together and drove up here to San Marcos. Texas was a little bit north of San Antonio, and we just started jamming. And next thing you know, it became like an album full of songs. We're like, "Hey, well, I guess we're ready for shows, and let's go."
And yeah, and I'm glad you brought up shows, man. Like, what's your relationship with touring? I know it's a big part of what you guys do, and there's certainly an exciting side of being able to travel, see different parts of the world. But I do talk to a lot of musicians on here, and I say this a lot on episodes. Musicians do tend to get a little bit, spent on touring after they're a certain amount of weeks into a tour. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's a tedious side of it. People want to get home to their creature comforts. You know what I mean? They want to be back home again after a certain amount of weeks. What's your relationship like personally with touring? Where do you stand on it?
Um, so it depends. I mean, I do get the fatigue, right? Like, cause it's not easy. Like, I mean, we just came back from Haltom, Texas, right? We did a little festival out there. And it's like a 4-hour drive from here.
Yeah.
And so, just that alone is like, oh man, back and forth. Like that is rough, right?
Yeah.
Um, Personally, I mean, I like it because I like going to other places and trying out the food and checking out the local scenery.
Sure.
Um, Especially like whenever we get a chance to say go out of the country, like that's cool, right? Like a whole different place.
Yeah.
Um, we haven't done anything like really extensive, I would say, like nothing longer than a week, I would say.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really tell you like, oh, being on the road for a month is tough because I really don't know. But I imagine, at some point, like I guess the journey out is probably the toughest part, and then like the journey back because it always seems to be the longest, or at least in
Right.
my experience.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of guys say, like, you know, what I mean, like that hour or two that they get to play is the best part, and then the other 22, 23 hours of the day and everything in between, the traveling, the, you know, the van rides or the bus rides if you happen to be on a tour bus or whatever. It's all that other stuff that, you know, surrounding the actual show itself. You know, is the kind of the monotonous part of it.
Yeah, you get as much sleep as you can, or at least that's what I do. Like
Yeah,
if I'm on the road, like first thing I'm thinking about is bed.
yeah,
I'm gonna try to get as much sleep as I can because I know if I don't, that's where things kind of start to get bad for me.
yeah.
But the you know you're staying in some like shady hotels and stuff like that.
It's not fun. Yeah,
Yeah, making sure that all your stuff goes back with you and doesn't stay back in the parking lot or whatever. Um, I, like I said, I wish I was doing a little bit more of it. We probably will. We as far as our band, we haven't done a really long run. I imagine that's going to be coming soon, but it's I think yeah, as long as you're eating right and sleeping right, you'll be fine. And go to the bathroom when you can.
yeah. That's the key right there. Yeah, that's the yeah. Don't be sticking up those bus ones. If you're lucky to be on a bus, yeah, that's a no man for
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And so talk to me a little bit about like what it meant. I don't have the date in front of me, but you guys got the opportunity to play with Lamb of God in the mighty Pantera.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah. Now
sure.
that had to do a lot for the band's profile overall, and really like getting a lot of eyeballs and ears into you guys.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a big shock, right? So
How long ago
uh,
was that show?
so we've done two runs with Pantera,
Yeah.
right? Luckily, right? I didn't think when we did the first one back in 2023, and that one was we were direct support for Lamb of God and Pantera. That one was, I want to say initially it was pretty nerve wracking for me, because those are big time guys,
Huge. Yeah.
Um, so when we got that call to, hey, you want to do these shows? I'm like, yeah, we'll be there. And the very first show, I want to say, was like probably the most nervous I was for any show. It was pretty packed out. I want to say it was an Arkansas show,
Yeah.
an amphitheater or whatever they're called. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is like, this you go see these bands on these stages. You know what I mean? You never really imagine, especially being a death metal band. We're an underground death metal band. We're going to be playing a big show like this. So the guys were very nice. I mean, Philip is probably the best dude to work with, and I felt very fortunate that he was the one that like really brought us under his wing.
Yeah.
It was very comforting when he's there, like, "Hey guys," like I remember the very first show he gave us like a little like pep talk. It was almost like a huddle of
Yeah.
a football game or something,
Yeah.
because I think you could probably see it on our faces. Like I peeked over the curtain, I'm like, "Whoa, like
Yeah. This is big. Yeah.
this is different,"
Yeah.
Um, we were doing 25-minute set or so, just go out there and crush it, and got our little pep talk, walked on stage, and then you hear the crowd just going crazy as soon as you start walking across the stage. And um I want to say after that it was like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
It was
Was it a
just
good reception from the crowd?
yeah, like as
Yeah.
soon as like we finished, like we hit that first note, just that's where you kind of zone out and you're like, all right, well, I'm here to do this. So once that show was under the belt, it was like, okay, I know what's up.
Yeah. We belong here.
This
Yeah.
is how this is like, these guys are pros. They do this every day. And I want to be like them,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, we got lucky enough. The Lamb of God guys were super cool. I anytime you talk to anybody like that, especially like established musicians, they have their own experiences with whoever, you hear stories. And luckily, this go around in 2023 with Pantera Lamb of God, everybody was a sweetheart. Everybody was like accommodating,
Yeah.
super friendly. It was just like hanging out with any of your friends. Did those shows, and then we actually did a second go round. This It was this year actually.
Yeah.
Um, That was in September. I want to say we did a couple of dates with it was King Parrot and Amon Amarth and Pantera. So we opened up a few shows or the Texas dates. And same thing, King Parrot, we've known them for a while. They're good friends of ours, so it was good to see them again. Monomarth, same thing. Those guys were super cool. You
Yeah.
know, you just they're back there backstage or just hanging out. Having a couple of drinks, shooting the shit. And then you don't even realize you're like, oh man, I'm talking to these guys. These guys are pretty massive.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine it eases the tension though.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah,
now
there's
you guys haven't put out, correct me if I'm wrong, since 2021 was the last Flesh Hoarder album. But when you guys did get together to make that last album, and when you guys get together in general to make music, what is Flesh Hoarder's creative process like? Does someone kind of take the reins with the creative stuff, or is it very collaborative amongst you guys?
I want to say if it was like a ranking order, I definitely do a lot of the creative process with the band.
Yeah.
It's my only project. It's the only thing I focus on. So, like the first album we did, it was pretty much stuff I just had sitting around in my like just, oh, I got this riff here, I got this song here, this needs some tweaking.
Yeah.
Eventually it was like with the rest of the guys, it was able to just become an album. The second one was a pretty big collaboration between me and Renee, their drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And we had got another bass player from this figure named Adam at the time, so he was able to contribute a lot to it as well. Um, that one I want to say we wrote pretty quick. That one in 2021. Um, and yeah, it was almost the same thing, but it wasn't like where I just had stuff laying around. I was like, okay, let's work on this song. That sounds good enough. Let's move on. You're kind of pushing it, trying to be
Right.
really productive with that one. And now we're on our first stage of working on the third album.
Okay. Okay.
So
And what's the
eh,
process been like for this album? Again,
I
more
want to,
collaborative.
yeah, definitely more collaborative. We, it's probably stupid when you hear bands say like, "Oh, this one's more mature," this and that.
Right.
I don't even know what the fuck that means, honestly.
Yeah, it's death metal. We don't want maturity.
Yeah, exactly. But with the collaboration, I want to say on this one was higher, and
Yeah.
I think it's more of like the songs are a song. It's not like, oh, this is just a bunch of riffs I had laying around and slapped them together and made a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the maturity of the next album,
Yeah.
where it was like, okay, yeah, this song belongs to this song. This belongs to this song. Everything is kind of more tightened up. And we did have I probably am guilty of being like, kind of a dictator when it comes to like writing the music where I'm just like, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, we're not doing this, that.
Yeah. Yeah. But
And
a band probably needs somebody like that though, right? An arranger, a composer, kind of someone to that's kind of why I asked. It can be collaborative, but in the end, it seems like someone always kind of takes the reins a little bit more.
yeah, like a field general, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
definitely, I think I would be, I would be that guy in the band. Definitely, if it's something that just I don't like, it's not on the album.
Yeah.
Um, so and I could be the hardest one to work with if that's the case, because I just might be like, I don't like that riff, or I don't like the way you're singing that.
Yeah.
The drumming is stupid right there, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So you will be honest with the guys then about stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and no one gets their feelings hurt. It's nothing like nothing derogatory. It's just like, yeah, we as soon as we get the right thing, we can move on. And I think that's the best thing about the guys is like, yeah, we're ready to like push through this and get to the next song. Even with this album, like it's pretty much done. Like we've already begun the tracking, and we're already talking about the next one. you know
Yeah.
so it's always about just kind of moving forward and actually being able to get better results, from the first go around instead of having to sit there and tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak.
Well, was it intentional that the last one came out in 2021? Did you mean to wait this long between albums, or did it just happen to it happen to happen that way? But was it deliberate that the last one was in 2021 and it's been
Mhm.
it'll be like 4+ close to 5 years before this one comes out, or would you have liked to gotten something out sooner?
No, I definitely would have preferred it sooner. I think we were just trying to figure out like a good schedule as far as like how to like be in the process of writing, putting
Yeah,
it out, coming back and starting to write again. I think the guys like I know like for example, Mike's a busy guy, right? With he's got some big bands, so
sure.
we were trying to navigate that. I think during that period, um, and whenever it came to like writing, it was like okay, well, we can't just stop if a guy's can't be around. We got to like keep pushing it. If not, like you said, the 2021 release date turns into, we're looking at 2026 now.
Yep.
Because this album's not coming out this year for sure.
Right.
I think you have to be ahead of the curve. Is what I've learned. You know, like this album's not ready, or it's not out, but I already in my head know like, okay, I gotta start pushing for the next one because that 4 or 5 years. Some people think that's okay. You know, um, they're like, oh, an album every 4 years or so, and I'm thinking to myself, no, that's too long.
It is too long. Yeah, it is too long, especially with such an influx of music on the streaming platforms. It's like, I mean, it's very easy nowadays to get lost in the shuffle and become yesterday's news very quick if you're not churning out material. It seems like
Yeah,
there's more of an
exactly.
urgency, I think, with artists nowadays.
Yeah, everything's in real time, right? I mean,
It is. Yeah.
information, news,
Yeah.
you name it.
Yeah.
You know the score of the game. Like everything is right in front of your face.
Yeah. Up to the minute. Up to the minute. Yeah, it is. And so a great Flesh Hoarder song. What's the recipe? What typically comes first? Is it a title, a line, a riff? How does it start usually?
Usually it will be. I mean, it could be a riff, right?
Yeah.
It might be just like, what, I wrote this riff and I fell in love with it, and we're gonna use it,
Yeah.
and then we'll figure it out. Um, Sometimes it might be, I want to say there was a good amount of the songs on the album that Renee had, our drummer, he had just been going to the jam room, kind of, playing on his own, basically practicing, and he was coming up with drum riffs, right? So he would have kind of there was a few tracks where it was like the song, it was a song that was done, but it was entirely in drums, right?
Right.
I was like, okay, like these sound good as far as the structure of it, like, you know, everything's where it's supposed to be. It's actually missing some music. And so there was songs in there where it was like, okay, like I can make this into a song. Um, and they became songs. It's like, okay, this is like 3 or 4 minutes of drums. We just had write 3 or 4 minutes of riffs on it and compose it. Usually it's the music first, and then any fine tweaking we can kind of do, you know, like, okay, I don't really like this part. Well, let's try something else. And it might be just a section. It might not be like oh, this whole song is trash. It's like, no, it's just this one thing didn't work. It's in
Right.
the wrong key, or it's in the wrong time signature or something, or it's bland. Let's spice it up a bit. Um, Mostly, I want to say it's kind of where we are, or at least with this album, it was more like, hey, let's go to the jam room and make a song, you know, or instead of like focusing on like, rehearsing old music, we're like, okay, let's get in there and work on a song, do it. Maybe by the next week, we might have a song and a half, or,
Right.
and that's how we did it. We just kind of were going back and forth. We track all our practices. So whenever we finish a practice, we'd upload it. We could all hear it. By the time we came back to practice next week, I might have heard the song a few times and maybe came up with some ideas for it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're kind of building up this catalog, right, of rehearsals. And everybody's kind of like, hey, maybe this part we should speed up, whatever. and at the same time, the singer is able to hear it like any other album and start getting ideas and start writing his scary stories on paper or whatever. And um, that was a process, at least for this one. A collaboration.
And do you guys sit around and talk about, because, and I brought this up to other artists, when I do see websites critiquing, reviewing albums, and I guess this probably speaks to where people's attention spans are nowadays and just how people are digesting music. It seems like one of the big sticking points for album reviewers nowadays is the length of the album. Do you guys sit around and talk about how many songs, how many minutes you want an album to clock in at? Because it seems like you've got people's ear for a limited amount of time. People are making their playlists. They're picking which tracks they like. You know what I mean? And then they're moving on to the next thing. So do you guys talk about that amongst yourselves as a band?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we've only, besides the demo we did right at the beginning of the band, we've only done full lengths. I think we released a single, which is only one song, right?
Right.
I think there's a standard length for a full album. I think I want to say it's got to clock in like at least half an hour or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if it was like if we wrote 8 songs and it's under half an hour, then we're like, well, we got to write some more music, at least another song or two or whatever. Like, I think that's a normal part of the conversation. And it kind of reminds me of the question you asked earlier about the length of, from 2021 to now.
Yeah.
And we could have released something. We were thinking maybe we should release something, maybe an extended, release or and maybe we missed the ball on that one. I'm not sure, but that's something we still kind of ask ourselves, like, are we going to do full lengths? Is full lengths a thing now? Are we going to start doing more EPs or anything like that?
You almost have to ask yourself, is it an EP world nowadays? Are people even lending their ears to a full-length album and sitting down and consuming music like that anymore? I like to think people are, especially old school fans and definitely metal fans. I think an LP is not lost on metal fans. I think they do appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think that's something we have been debating. We could, like I said, we had enough music for, maybe a year or two after we did release Relic, the second album, where we would have put out an EP. But I think we kind of hit a point where in the writing process, we're like, well, we're actually kind of close to having a full length. So we pushed it off. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh crap, it's been like 2 extra years,
Right.
like,
yeah,
you kind of lose track at that point, right? Because all the real life stuff, I guess. But I think going forward, it might be wise to start doing more EPs and things like that, because we can put out 3 or 4 songs right away. I feel like, especially the way, I mean, we've been together for such a long time now. We're since like 2011, right? So I think we know our ins and outs and what we want to sound like, and we should be able to do something like that. And I think it's probably more wise than slapping all these full lengths and waiting years to do that.
Yeah. Are there any guitar players, maybe one name, maybe a couple names that you could throw out that you feel like have had the most impact on your own playing?
Oh man, I want to say, of course, like the bands I listened to growing up, right? Like, you're talking the Metallica guys, Hetfield and Hammett and Dave Mustaine, Marty Friedman, Dimebag. Like, I want to say they're the biggest influences, because I just probably wouldn't have been playing guitar if it wasn't for those guys,
Yeah.
Of course, I got a lot of influences from the underground scene, like when I started listening, Suffocation and Morbid Angel and things like that. And there's like stuff I love about all those bands. But definitely, I still kind of dwell in the past. I still listen to a lot of old music.
Me too. Guilty. Doing this podcast has helped me a little bit, because I've tried to appeal to what other people like and not just think, so insular about having people on here that I only like. So I've tried to open my ears up and try to, follow the algorithm and go down the rabbit hole and find some of the newer stuff that's out there. And so, so those bands can have platforms too. But for my own listening trends, and it sounds like you're kind of the same way. When I'm going to putter around the house or in the car and listen to music, I do tend to fall back on stuff that's older and familiar to me.
Yeah, I guess it's like a blanket or something.
Yeah, being a stodgy old fuck and just listening to what I, what's, like what I know, and if that's from the 80s and the 90s, then, so be it, I guess. But
yeah, it'll be all sorts of stuff, right? But I mean, I think as far as guitar wise, it is like that, and it's, I'm listening to all types of stuff, not just metal or whatever. But I think if you are a musician, you probably owe it to yourself to like check out all sorts of stuff. And there's an inspiration laying around, even just going for a walk, you might find some there,
Yeah. Do you ever have days as a guitar player where you just say, I'm not picking the fucking thing up today?
Oh, absolutely.
You do?
Yeah. I just try to make that, less days than more days, right? Like try to do at least 4 days instead of, 3 days a week or something.
If you guys have a lot of songs for a Flesh Hoarder album, and like let's say like you want 9 or 10 songs to make it onto the album, but you've got a surplus. Maybe you're sitting on 13 or 14. How do you decide what makes the cut? Like you brought up the phrase "field general" earlier. But if you have to trim it down and you've got to cut, 3 or 4 or 5 songs that you're sitting on, who makes that call? Is that democratic? Is that put to a vote? Do you make the final determination?
Yeah, I mean there'll be a consensus for sure. I'll if there is something that I don't like, it just won't. It's not gonna make it. You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been a song where it's like everybody loves this song and I hate it, and we do it. You know what I mean? It's just. But I mean, at the same time, I don't think we've really had that luxury of like where like, oh, we made 15 songs, but we can only keep 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, we got to make another song because we're short. You know what I mean? So for me personally, I might have, which I probably, if I were to go in through my files, I might be like, oh, look, I got like 4 or 5 songs sitting here, which I absolutely, do not like. And then, there's been a few times where I've showed the guys like, look, here's like 4 or 5 things that I wrote. I don't like them, but you tell me. And then some of those songs actually winded up being pretty popular, and we took some of that. Then that's where I'm like, okay, I'll ask you guys more instead of kind of just, storing stuff. But it even stuff that there was some stuff that I had wrote, I want to say even prior to the band forming, that had been sitting around, and some of the guys have had it in their personal files, and then we winds up playing them, and I'm like, hey, what song is that? Like I remember that, but that was so long ago. We're talking like 20 years or something, you know. And they're like, oh, I had it on my hard drive or whatever. I was like, hey, let's work, hey, let's work on that. And like, yeah, it's a good song. Okay, so there's probably a song or two on this album that are probably over 20 years old that have just kind of got lost in time basically, and they just got refurbished and more modernized, I guess you could say. Right? I mean, it was death metal, so it's like I wouldn't say it wasn't modern already.
Right.
They just needed a little bit of TLC, and wound up being like, okay, these are good songs. So there's a few of those on there. I don't think we have like that where it's like 15 songs and we just cut them. It's like we're gonna use them. We're gonna at least doctor them up and maybe take pieces of them here and there and make it into something we're all really happy with. But some songs, like there's in every album, I think, where there's just like one song I'm not happy with, and we just gone back and I might come in every week and like, hey, I changed this, and then I changed this. Like I didn't like this. Until eventually we're like, okay, this is it. This sounds good. We're fine.
And when you're sitting on these songs and you bring them to the band and you say, I don't really think these are good, but you guys tell me what you think. In your opinion, what's the feedback from the rest of the band? You know, are you just being hard on yourself? Like, would you say that you're like a tough critic, and that's why like you're saying this stuff is not good? And does the band usually typically agree with you, or do they say, no, this stuff is good? You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're just holding yourself to a very high standard.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would probably be the right
Yeah.
reason. You know, it's me being very nitpicky.
Yeah.
And you know, and sometimes it is something very minor.
Yeah.
You know, if a song has like 10 riffs on it, and I'm really annoyed at one riff, like sometimes it's hard to tell. Like, okay, this is the riff that really got on my nerves, and I think it just sounds stupid. You
Yeah.
know, and that was my reason for throwing the whole song away. I just thought it was, you know, trash. The arrangement probably wasn't right. And then, you know, when it gets pointed out, then it's like, oh, it pretty much becomes a whole new song again, even though it is that same song,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So they do have, like, there was even like on the very first album, I can recall like a song or two, because a lot of those were just me and the drum machine, right?
Right.
And there was like, I just threw the whole list at him, like, here you go. This is what I have. And I'm still working on new stuff to try to like bring when the band first started. And they're like, "Hey, well, what about this song?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to use that song." And
Yeah.
then we go back and listen to it and like, yeah, let's do it. And everybody else would be on board for it. And I'm like, okay, well, then I actually start putting some effort into it, and then it becomes, in my opinion, a good song, right? So
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
already happy with it. It was just me being hard headed or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be.
And so the last album, as I mentioned, came out in 2021. What is the right answer then? Because obviously you're saying you don't want to wait 4+ or 5 years between albums. You know what I mean? What would be you know, a good itinerary for you, man? Like, yeah, you know, in today's musical landscape, today's industry, you know, how fast would you like to be punching out something new? Yearly, bi-yearly?
I think
I just had the guy on from Werewolves, a death metal
mhm.
band from Australia, man. They've been putting out an album every single year. I don't know. Is that too much? Is that, I mean, you know, what's the right answer nowadays? Because it seems like it is easier now than ever to put stuff up on the streaming platforms. There's an influx of music. You know, I think I read somewhere there's like 30,000 new songs coming out on a daily basis. You obviously can't hear all of it. We don't have enough hours in the day. But I mean, you know, there's certainly no shortage of music there, and it's easier to get it up there now more than ever. Whether anybody gives a shit is a different story. You know what I mean? You can put your music up there, and maybe nobody wants to go listen to it. But is there a right answer or in your mind?
Um, well, I want to say, if I were to break it down in my head, I'm thinking, you know, you should probably have something out like every quarter or so, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like you got your winter song, you got your summer song, you got
yeah,
your
yeah. Is that
fall
just more?
song.
Is that just more so because of my earlier point? Because there's so much music out there that you want to stay relevant, you don't want to be forgotten about, you want to stay on people's radar.
Yeah, and I think they're I mean, relevance, of course, right, would probably be number one, so people
Yeah,
don't forget you. Even though, I mean, there's bands that have been around forever and don't do jack shit, but people
right.
still remember them because they had that one good song
Good,
sometimes.
good point. Yep.
Um, I think if it were to be done sooner and quicker, as far as the turnaround, you might have a little bit more of a fire under you and the band to kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, let's say we release something in January. You know what you did then, and then like say a couple or 3 months or 4 months, whatever, from there, you're releasing something else again.
Right.
Then you've already bookmarked where you are at that point as far as a band, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to kind of track like your progress, maybe kind of give you an idea of where you are in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Because like with the album, right, especially like that 4 or 5 year gap, some of those songs were made 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you know, some were made 2 months ago, you know. So there's a
Right.
big range of music, and you kind of don't know, like you lose track, like I don't remember when this song was made. It was made like right after the last album, you know, and I think if you have more of a real time approach, you'll have more of an idea of where you're progressing at that, you know, that point
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah, more of a consistency. Yeah, I mean, because you are growing as a musician. Yeah, I mean, like what you did 3 years ago isn't going to be the, you know, you're not going to be the player that you are now as you were then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And you might have a different everybody, I think every musician has that thing where they write a song, they put it out, they listen to it, and like a month or two later, they're like, man, I should have did this different. Oh, I should have
Right.
like went to
Yeah.
this key change, or whatever the case is.
You're
And
self-editing a lot. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think if you're doing it more real time, whenever you do come back around to doing it again, you'll remember the mistakes that you made rather than letting all that time pass and you forget, what you messed up on last time or what you wanted to do differently. I think personally that would be my idea for it. Um, I mean, I don't care if it's a song. I think the relevancy thing is a big factor, right? Because it could, you see bands blow up from one song, right? And
Yeah.
that one song that you wrote at that one time could be the right time and the right place for it. And that's all it takes to kind of just, light the embers and get
Yeah.
going.
It used to be a different formula though, because and I'm 52 years old or whatever, and I'm sure you remember an era where you'd see like a band, for instance, like Metallica, drop an album, then they'd go tour the world for 2 years in support of that album, so they wouldn't
Yeah.
even be thinking about a new album for like anywhere from like fucking 2 to 3 years. I mean, that used to be like the album cycle. I mean, you'd get a Metallica album, you think Master of Puppets '86, and then '88 we get And Justice for All. I mean, and then '91 we get the Black Album. That used to kind of be the template for like musical releases. It was every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that too has to do with
Different time though, too.
not only that, but you have that external factor, right? You have your managements, you got your deadlines, you got
Yeah,
you got other people that are calling the shots at that point. Of course, right? If you're making, 6, 7 figures, you probably have some kind of other team around you that are like, hey,
yeah,
you're gonna play here, you're gonna play this song, but once you get back, we need this album by this time,
right,
you know. So I think that's like probably a good reason why those bands kind of like Metallica, right? A good example why they stay relevant, because if they're not playing, they have to make an announcement for a break,
right, right,
like what
right.
are they doing? Like, oh, they're finally taking a break because they were on like a tour for a year.
Yeah,
And then next thing you know, they're gonna go record an album. Um, when you're on your own, like the way we're doing it, and that's how 4 or 5 years pass because we have to hold each other accountable. Whenever we're working with like a label, they'll have their own time frame as well, so we have to kind of accommodate that because it could be like, oh, we're ready, the label's not ready,
right.
or the label's ready, we're not ready. So I think the more consistent we can stay, um then everything else will kind of start to fall in place, I feel like.
And where are you in terms of that? And forgive me for not having that information in front of me, man. But are you guys on a label? Are you guys kind of DIY? I mean, where are you guys right now in terms of management and being on a label?
So right now, we're going to be working with Housecore Records.
Great, awesome, yeah.
So
I
we're
love
we're
label. Yeah,
yeah, we're going to be. I mean, of course, we're very lucky. Everything they've done for us is.
makes sense. It's a good fit too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm personally, to me, it's like, um, I've loved all the labels we worked with. Like the first album was with Comatose, Steve Green. That he's the man. I love that dude. We
Yeah,
all do. He's super cool. I've known him for a very long time. He put out my other albums. So that was like a no-brainer whenever we first did that. And then we did the Relic album with NSC, which was pretty cool. Like it was another. I think we were just kind of trying something different. To kind of see like what's out there.
yeah,
Everybody, we worked with Comatose so long, it wasn't like, oh, we don't like it, like we love him. Like I kind of regret leaving DBH.
right.
But we were like wanted to dip our toes in the water, see what else was out there. NSC did a great job for us. He got it out quickly when we were ready and all that stuff. Super accommodating. We played the fest. I'm actually wearing a shirt from the fest, the
Yeah,
NSC fest.
yeah. I
That
see that.
was
Yeah,
that was Thursday night we played. So that was pretty cool seeing old friends and stuff. But
sure.
once the Pantera stuff came up and we got the opportunity to be part of the family, because it really is a family experience. All those guys are real tight knit.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer at that point. Like, yeah, we're gonna be here for the, as long as they keep us around,
Yeah, yeah, and
We'll-
that goes back to the network and everything. And Mike's got history with Phil, and with the illegals and everything like that. So I mean, yeah, it does make sense, and it seems like going forward that'll be a good fit for you guys. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's a good label for Flesh Hoarder to be on. You know what I mean? And Phil, it really seems like one of those kind of guys who really champions the underground bands too. You know what I mean? More than
Oh yeah,
anybody else, I think. I mean, he's always like, I just had this talk. Obviously, I just, as I said, I just talked to the guitar player for Werewolves, and he's in Australia, and he's in bands with the guys from Psychroptic. And Phil, we talked about how Phil champions some of those Australian bands, the King Parrots and the Portals of the world, and wears their shirts. And that's a big deal. When a guy like that is like a walking billboard, more or less, for your band, that speaks volumes. Phil's an impactful guy. He's got a lot of sway.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's an icon, right?
Yeah, he is.
And of course, like growing up and stuff, I remember watching Pantera, at I think it was like the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, playing with Morbid Angel.
Yep.
It's like, well, what other bands are going to play with, bring Morbid Angel on tour with them?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
he was always doing the underground stuff.
Yep.
Of course, it was very surreal when it first started happening. Like, hey, we're that other band. We're the cool band now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Right.
I didn't think like, I used to, we were all obsessed with Pantera growing up.
Yeah.
And then to be like with them,
Yeah.
working with them, now working directly, you know, staying over at his house and,
Yeah.
eating breakfast. And I was like, it's just still like, whoa.
Yeah. Well,
What's
say what
going
you
on
want
here?
about Pantera, man. Many people forget. Metal fans often forget too. Metallica, I love them to death. They went a little weird on us in the 90s with some of those albums and their image a little bit. For a lot of the 90s, Pantera was flying the flag for metal and really, really keeping it afloat. They were one of the only ones that were really staying really authentic, man, as far as the bigger bands go. You know what I mean? Like they were that band in the 90s.
Absolutely.
They really were.
And they kept, one of my favorite albums was Reinventing the Steel,
Oh, yeah.
the last album. And I was like, dude, this album rules. I remember at the time, and I still jam it now. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, when's the next one?
Metal's
Of
in a
course.
tough spot. I mean, country was nipping at its heels, and hip hop was big at that time. You know what I mean? So there wasn't a lot of bands that were really, really, really had a lot of popularity in the metal world in the 90s. And then like new metal kind of came along at the end of the 90s, and that was very popular. The Limp Bizkits and the Corns, but nobody was really authentically, metal the way Pantera was.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like to think of Pantera like it. I think of them like if Van Halen played death metal, like
Yeah. Yeah, they were like saviors.
this-
Yeah, they were like the saviors out there for us for a while. They really
yeah,
were.
exactly. Like they literally brought it all up. They made it mainstream,
Yep.
and it made it it was. I think it was more than like mainstream because it was yeah, like they were talented musicians, and I think they could have played like they could have just been like a rock band or whatever,
Yep.
and they would have been very successful. But the fact that they kind of put this whole like they did put the underground on their back, I feel like, and
Yeah.
propped it up.
Yeah.
Made I like honestly, whenever I hear somebody talk shit about Pantera, especially like younger generations, I'm like, dude, you don't even know, like you're a fucking poser, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you don't understand, like a lot of these bands would not be here, would not be relevant if it wasn't for these guys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Philip is probably the number one guy you owe everything to,
Yeah. They were really
And-
flying the flag, and during all that popularity, I mean, they could have just kind of maintained and just kind of slid into a comfort zone and just kept churning out those albums, but they kept getting fucking heavier every album.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
There was
Shit would
just more, they would get more down tuned, more,
Yeah.
double bass, more screaming, like it did get heavier, it was, like the, what's the name of the album? I want to say, like say like Far Beyond Driven or anything
Yeah.
like that, compared to like Cowboys from Hell, like you could
Yeah.
tell the trend it was going. It was going
Yep.
to a more underground type of metal,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
they were still hitting the charts, whenever MTV was around, their music videos were coming up,
Yeah.
and they weren't like the special underground metal hour, where you might see a Carcass video or something.
Right. This
They
wasn't
were-
right. This wasn't Headbangers Ball at 1:30 in the morning. This was
Yeah.
this was like prime time MTV.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
you hop in your car and you turn on the radio,
Yeah.
with no Spotify, and there was,
Yeah.
Block or something playing on there.
Yeah.
You're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna turn this up.
So what is the likely time frame for new Flesh Hoarder then? You said it wasn't going to come out this year, but we will see something in 2026.
Absolutely. We have. Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the stuff I can say right now.
Yeah, right. Of course, whatever
So
you're at liberty to say. Yeah.
so we do have something prepared to release.
Okay.
I don't know when. I'm kind of waiting to hear back, like when we're gonna do all that. I we're in the beginning of November, so I don't know how much is gonna happen from here till
Yeah, with the
the end of
holiday
the.
stuff coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I know everybody's antsy. They're like, yeah, let's release it. But I was like, I don't know. I mean, dude, who's releasing stuff this time of year? Um, maybe something might come out. Like I said, the tracking process already started for the new album.
Yeah.
So we're looking at like drums already pretty much being done. Looking to start getting the tracking and stuff probably within the next 2 weeks. With the strings and stuff like that. And of course, once that's done, it's kind of downhill with the vocals and kind of just figuring out if I want to add any funny business on there with scary movie quotes and shit
Right.
like that they do
Right.
in death metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm thinking, that first quarter of 2026 where we should have a full length out. I think, I mean, because that's my, or at least our timeline. I'm thinking, still got to figure out with, ultimately it's up to, the label and how they want to do it. I mean, they, of course, there it wouldn't be like 2027 because it's there, but either way, I'm thinking early first half 2026, but I couldn't say for sure.
Okay. Okay. But we can definitely say 2026 without a doubt. We will see new Flesh Hoarder.
I'd say so. I think it's safe to say that,
Okay.
and we, like I said, we do have something ready to present. We're waiting to get for that right time, I guess, or at least I don't know if there's anything that we're waiting on in particular, but I still that's a question that I need to like ask more
Yeah.
about.
Well, you do make a good point, though. Stuff can get lost in the shuffle when you try to roll it out during the holidays, too. You know what I mean? And then it might get kind of blown over and maybe not get the attention that you'd like it to get.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really don't understand like the music business side of the releases and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When we're like when we're more independent or whatever, we just be like, yeah, we just finished it. Let's put it out now. Like, who
Right.
cares?
Right.
Let's do
Yeah.
it at 10 o'clock on Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm sure Housecore Records and Phil and everybody over there, man, like might have like a game plan too. I don't know. Are you privy to what the game plan is? Is that kind of stuff discussed? Is that how much of it is put in the band's hands and how much of it is put in Housecore's hands?
I think, I mean, ultimately it's going to be up to them because I know for sure, especially if it's going to be any proper promotions and stuff, right? That's where I'm concerned about, right?
Yeah.
So in my eyes, I'm like not so much worried like, oh, I want to get this out and all this stuff because I want it to be handled with care, right?
Sure.
Like I
Sure.
spend all this time and effort into it, so I want whoever I'm handing it off to be able to like have all the resources to take care of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think ultimately that's where I'd have to respect and do it like how they want it, you know what I mean? Like because I know like personally I want them to to do everything they can to really focus and promote it
Yeah.
and the time is right. If they're doing that for one band right now, for example, we can't just like jump in and be like, hey, we're ready to go, let's go,
Yeah. Here we are. Yeah.
my turn,
Yeah. Yeah.
like there's a time and a place for that. Um Especially when we haven't finished recording this most recent album. If everything is done and ready to go and it's just sitting there, then I might have a lot more questions, like kind of like, hey, what's going
Yeah.
on? But
Yeah.
until that's done, I'm like, well, we got to do our part, let's get
Yeah.
that over with. And in the meantime, let's start working on, part four, basically.
Yeah. Now, before I let you out of here, because I know everybody's on social media somewhere, people want to be tapped in. People want to know what is going on with Flesh Hoarder, get their news, their information on what's going on. Where's the best place to tap in?
I think the most of the guys are on Facebook for sure.
Yeah.
Or Instagram, Flesh Hoarder on either or. I think Instagram's like Flesh underscore Hoarder
Yeah.
TXDM, something like that. But Flesh Hoarder, you'll find us there. There's
I
also
always ask, but people know how to use their fucking internet. We can't hold their hands, Angel. For God's sakes, if you want to find Flesh Hoarder, just type them in. For God's sakes, you'll find something.
Yeah, you'll find it.
Come on, people, be resourceful. Everybody knows how to use the internet nowadays. God's
yeah,
sakes.
the searches are way better than they used to be.
Yeah, they are.
Up,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And then what about Housecore Records? The actual their website.
I don't know if there's anything from us there yet.
Okay.
Like this is all pretty still new, right?
Okay.
I think we probably got to release something so they can actually put us on there.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly, I mean, there's still a lot of questions behind it. I know it's going to happen, and we've already all talked about it. We just haven't finished doing our end, I guess. I'm gonna put the big blame on us for now. And it's we were working, they were on the road, and Pantera was on the road for a while there.
Yeah.
So there was communications and stuff. It's we know they're busy. We still got work to do. So I don't know a whole lot about it. But you'll see us kind of pop on their stuff because they'll promote us every once in a while, especially doing the shows. They'll have promos and stuff for us, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Very.
But other than that, our socials, those two, the X's, there's an X account. I don't know if anybody uses X.
Yeah.
But I'd say Facebook is probably where you can reach us directly, or Instagram for sure.
Okay. Cool. Listen, man, I really enjoy this, man. I really appreciate talking with you, man. When we get closer to the album coming out, definitely come back on and we'll do this again, man. You definitely have a platform here, man. Really enjoyed it, man. And always welcome, man. And stay in touch. We'll do it again for sure.
Sweet, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite.
My pleasure, man. Yeah, it was good talking to you, Angel. We'll do this again for sure, my friend. Best of luck going forward, man.
All right. See you.
All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you. Later. There he goes, folks. Angel Tarin from the mighty Flesh Hoarder, Texas brutal death metal. Those words, they just go together. That's how you want your death metal, folks. Brutal. And preferably from Texas, where the weather is hot and they're angry and they know how to fucking churn it out. And also good news. Congrats to the fellas for landing on Housecore Records. That seems like an appropriate home for them. As I said in the interview, Phil Anselmo, his label Housecore Records, he just does so much for underground metal and just really champions the cause. He's as Angel put it, he's an icon. So it sounds like the fellas are in good hands, and we'll be rolling out a new album in 2026. The last one was Relic of Putrescent Filth. That came out in 2021. And I'm pretty happy that I seem like I said that properly. But so you can go check that out. It's been a minute since the boys have released anything, man. But as Angel said, expect new shit to be coming and melting your fucking face in 2026. So, hey, be on the lookout. Check out their socials. Follow them. Tap in. Again, I appreciate Angel Tarin, guitar player for Flesh Hoarder, for coming on here today and chopping it up with me. And super stoked that we will get new music from them in the very near future. So hope you guys dug that episode. Now I'll do a little bit of shameless promotional shit myself. My pimp hand is feeling strong. And as you know, if you have a podcast, you got to pimp it. Here I go. I'm going to give it a shot. Make sure to tap into PodScum on Facebook. Yep, we're out there on social media too, folks. It's the way of the world. You got to be out there. Tap in Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum, 2 shows, 1 Facebook page, because as you know, your boy just ain't trying to be on social media all the time. So I promote both of my podcasts on 1 Facebook. Same with Instagram, Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum. I've dumbed it down. I've kept it simple for you guys and myself. Simple handle to remember, and I didn't change it for any of the platforms, Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum. So tap in with us on Facebook, tap in with us on Instagram. And of course, if you're here on this page, this is where you get the great content that we roll out weekly. So this is where you really need to be. I love Facebook. I love Instagram, yada, 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 all that shit. It's a great promotional tool. You can get updates. You can get little snippets of these episodes. But this is where it really all goes down. This is where you get your meat and potatoes. So if you're here, please like, please subscribe, and please smash that notification bell so you will be privy when that new content is dropping. Again, I want to thank Angel Tarin of Flesh Hoarder for being my guest today. Hope you guys dug the conversation. I appreciate all the viewers. I appreciate the subscribers, and ultimately the guests without whom I could not do this. I love everybody that supports the channel, man. Keep tapping in with us. This is your boy Reckless Rex reminding you to take it easy and keep it sleazy.